Okay, welcome to the first Vectyr screencast. What we're going to be doing is making a ray gun. I have a sketch from the initial storyboard. I know it's pixelated and whatever, it was just a little thumbnail. So we're going to create this ray gun for a cartoon called The Adventures of Captain Cannon. And for that, I'll need my brushes. These are some custom brushes I made, and they work well with my Cintiq that I have. What I just did there is I set up a special layer that will allow me to sketch around like this, and underneath you'll be able to see color and whatnot. So it really helps in the sketching process. And I may have to do another little tutorial about it later. But here's the initial ray gun, and I know it looks like it's going really fast. I wish I could say, yeah, I sketched that fast, but I've sped up the video just a little bit, just so you don't have to sit through the whole thing. So that'd be kind of boring. But anyway, here's the ray gun, and there we go. So I'm gonna make another layer, and you're gonna see how this other layer works here. So that's black. We do orange. You can see perfectly underneath. That's why it helps to set the layer to multiply. So I'm kind of building the body of the ray gun right now. And we're going to pick a couple shapes like this. I need to straighten this out a little bit because it's easier to draw something when it's all nice and straight. So anyway, I decided I was going to change the shape of the dish a little bit, and also the shape of the body. I wasn't too pleased on how it was originally, too boxy. It needed to be more sleek. You got to have this fin up here too. I don't know why, but it just looks cooler, you know. Kind of like those old cars from the 50s and 60s and all Buck Rogers. So it kind of reminds me of. Anyway, so a little graphic right there makes it look awesome. I'm working in grays right now, just so I could get the general feel of the ray gun. And I always like working in grays first, because then that gives you a pretty good idea of what you're looking at. And I always say, if it looks good in gray, it's just going to look that much more awesome in color. So I design logos that way too. I always start out in gray so that you're kind of unbiased. Now we start putting some color. Got the old Captain Cannon logo on there. He's got to brand everything, of course. So when they start making Captain Cannon toys and all that jazz, so I doubt they'll do that, but you never know. So then the time comes for picking the different colors of the gun. He's going to have a yellow glove, so you got to be thinking about that. You're going to have all this yellow, so I'm going to use orange for a lot of the accents of the ray gun, and I'm just going to keep the handle blue because it'll look good against the yellow glove. And orange works for the rest of the parts of this gun. And put a little bit blue in here. Yellow for the little nozzle on the, I don't know what you'd call that thing, but a little bit of chrome. Got to have some chrome in there. And we're just going to add a little more detail. There we go. Then you got to put a little shine on there. Shine makes it look awesome. And thank goodness we have alpha transparencies. And we actually have Vectyr alpha transparencies for gradients in Illustrator, and those convert over really well to Flash. CS4 just does an incredible job of just the communication of graphics between Illustrator and Flash. It's really improved. I was amazed. You could paste stuff right into Flash CS4 from Illustrator CS4, and it looks perfect. I haven't really experienced any problems, so it's just a dream come true. I love it. It's awesome. We're gonna put some little shines here on the dish, just so it looks a little more round and three-dimensional. And I decided to darken this up just to give it some variety. That looks good. Almost done. We got to add a little shadow up here. Since we have a three-dimensional object, we use a lot of gradients and stuff on the Captain Cannon cartoon, and it looks pretty good. And we're going to have some little ridges here on the handle. The worst thing that could happen is for your ray gun to slip out of your hand when you're blasting someone or whatnot. But in this cartoon, the ray gun, it doesn't hurt anyone. It just shrinks them down. So it's a shrink ray, I guess you could say. So, and once you see the finished cartoon, you'll see what happens to the bad guy. So straighten these out. A couple little tweaks. I mean, this is only going to be on screen for about 2 seconds, if that. But it just makes an impression. It's kind of like those old cartoons, the old Bugs Bunny cartoons where Elmer Fudd's reading a letter, and you can see all the details of his hands, the cuticles and his fingernails, and it's kind of like that. And so I'm putting Captain Canet's arm in here right now. Obviously the gun's not going to be floating in the air, so. Going to give old Captain Canet a thumb here, and there's going to kind of be a lot of tweaks to get this looking right, but we try to get it as good as possible right off the bat. You don't need to illustrate the whole hand. For something like this, you only really need to illustrate what you can see. The finger will probably squeeze the trigger, so we're going to have two parts, the front and the back, because we're going to have that squeeze action going there when he pulls the trigger. And put a couple other fingers here, just duplicate those and mess around with the size. And you see how the fingers all kind of blend into each other? I'm going to grab a little piece of the thumb, and we're going to create some lines to give us some separation between these fingers. It's a neat little cartoon trick, but on the old Daffy Duck character, he was all black, and so they would put white lines between his arms and hands, and they would just white lines would appear. So it just kind of cracked me up, but I started animating. I'm like, oh, I see why they want to do that. A little bit of shadow there in the palm of the hand. Adds a nice little effect. Fix some of these gradients up a little bit. And it's looking pretty good so far. So we need a background, and we're going to grab this. This is kind of the action background. Anytime Captain Canet's doing some type of action, kind of like the old Batman show, we've got the Kazow type background. Something crazy is about to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this little deal here, and we're going to use it to make, I had to turn the smart guides off. They're helpful for a while, but when you have a lot of vector action going on, they can be very distracting. So these are our little ray gun shrink waves. So if you ever want to know what shrinking waves look like, now you know. So we're going to put some lightning bolt like electricity, some Tesla effects going on in there. Let's even this out a little bit. There we go. And we'll change the opacity of these, and there you go. Nice electrical zap effect. One little thing here is I forgot to add a little drop shadow on some of these trigger and elements here on the weapon. So add those in, back up, and looks pretty good. So there's our ray gun. Join us next time for our next screencast. Thanks for watching.